God gave me the literal date of Esther's crowning. I talked about how Esther was crowned on the 1st of Tevet yesterday, and the Lord gave me the specific date of where that falls on our calendar today. And it is December 13th. That will be the date of the 1st of Tevet and the date in which Esther was crowned Queen of Persia. So I would mark your calendars for December 13th and just definitely honor God, as we should every day, but there should be a special blessing on that day, a special intimacy, a special celebration on that day between you and the Lord. And who knows, there may be even physical manifestations, special manifestations that take place that day. But Esther was made queen in 362 BCE, and Esther was taken to the king to his palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tevet, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther more than all the women, and she won his favor and kindness more than all the virgins. He placed the royal crown on her head and made her queen in Vashti's stead. That's Esther 2:16 and 17. This set the stage for the miracle of Purim. And we know that Purim represents the celebration of the plans of the enemy to completely destroy the house of Israel, failing. And so this happened 6 years later, and the number 6 represents man, or the works of the flesh, the plots and plans of wickedness. Okay, that's what it represents here. And so, as I said yesterday, in the month of Tevet, God is setting the stage. We're receiving the crown, and this is setting the stage for us to be in position to for when God releases his strike against the nations and the people in high places that want to destroy us. And he's going to strike this blow in the following month of Shavat. Now, I want to share a few details in scripture. This is coming from the apocryphal version of the book of Esther. And it says, she too was put in the royal palace in the care of Haggai, who had charge of the harem. Haggai liked Esther, and she won his favor. He lost no time in beginning her beauty treatment of massage and special diet. So we see that Esther had favor that followed her, but she also was given beauty treatments and a special diet. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I know quite a few people that I know who are also called with this Esther mantle. We have all been receiving messages from the Lord to detox, to fast, to change our diet, to do all these different kinds of health regimens. So I've been doing this heavily for the last 6 months by instruction of the Lord. It goes on to say, he assigned 7 young women specially chosen from the royal palace to serve her. Now, I want to pause there because 3 days ago, the constellation known as the Seven Sisters, also known as the Pleiades, they did something in conjunction with the moon, or in relation with the moon. And I don't remember exactly the science part of it, but it stood out to me when I saw this information, when God brought this information to my attention. And so I was asking the Lord, what is the significance of this focus on the Seven Sisters constellation? And as soon as I read this, he assigned 7 young women specially chosen from the royal palace to serve her. this just confirmed that this celestial, this appearing and focus highlight on the Seven Sisters constellation that took place 3 days ago was significant to Esther's crowning. And you've got to understand that the celestial bodies is going to give you, if you understand how to read the signs in the heavens that God placed in the beginning to mark special holy days, times, seasons, to display prophecies, to communicate and illustrate what the Lord was saying through the celestial bodies. That's why they're there, and they will give you the greatest detail of what God is saying if you know how to read them. Now, I'm born under the constellation of Dealy, which is Aquarius, and we are hardwired to be stargazers, to read the stars, and to really receive communication through the stars. So I really feel like that's why God has led me and allowed me to have the understanding that I do without any training or anyone leading me into it. It's just spirit led. But anyways, it's amazing the revelation that you receive from studying the stars. So the Seven Sisters constellation has to do, they're the Pleiades, but they're also in the constellation Taurus, which has to do with the constellation Orion. And I'm going to do a whole separate video on Orion and how that represents Jesus. And so you've got the Seven Sisters, and you've got Orion, which is the mighty hunter, the warrior, which represents Jesus conquering the enemies of God. Okay. Again, that's a separate video. And goes on to say that the king fell in love with Esther, who pleased him more than any of the others, and he placed the queen's crown on her head. The king gave a week-long banquet for all his advisors and administrators to celebrate his marriage to Esther. There is a marriage banquet that took place with the crowning of Esther. So I believe this also represents the Esther's, or the bride of Christ, the woman being married, and it's a celebration of our marriage to the Lamb. And it goes on to say he also granted a reduction of taxes for the whole empire. Okay, we're talking about money there. He granted a reduction of taxes for the whole empire. Everyone was blessed. Everyone received tax cuts. Okay, and with the word that I shared yesterday about Esther's crowning and about the strike of the month of Shabbat that is to come after the month of Esther's crowning, it has to do, all of this has to do with the wealth transfer. All of this has to do from the first being the last and the last being the first. And it has to do with the wealth of the wicked being stored up for the righteous and being laid before the hands of the righteous, so that we can come into our governmental positions of power and influence, and we can destroy the plans of the wicked to destroy the people of God. And so we can establish the house of God and restore back forever and evermore the priesthood of the Lord, and receive the kingdom of heaven and implement it into the earth to the degree and the measure that God has ordained it. And it is amazing what we are going into if you understand how big this really is. This Shabbat is literally the final restoration. It will begin the final restoration of the tribes of Israel.